When I was very young, about 15 years old, I ran across a one tube radio made in about 1922. And for some reason, it captured my imagination as a 15-year-old.
I've been interested in electricity for as long as I can remember. I was the youngest of three boys. My dad was an electrician, and he used to make a lot of our toys. I mean, my earliest memories are playing with electromagnets and that kind of thing. My dad and my oldest brother built a Tesla coil when I was probably 4 years old. When people ask me why did I start the museum, which I use the term I very loosely because Jonathan and I really started this museum together. He had an existing museum over on Railroad Avenue.
It was called the Bellingham Antique Radio Museum. I put a website together, and that was at a time when there weren't any search engines, or they were very few. And I started to get some traction. People started to notice this little museum. Well, one day a guy walks in, John Jenkins. We hit it off. We started to trade.
And then we combined our two collections, of my electrical collection, his radio collection, to form this museum. But I always joke that the reason I started a museum was so that I'd have a place for the UPS truck to come where my wife wouldn't see it. Because that became an issue after a while when the UPS truck would show up, every week with a bunch of stuff. And my wife would always wonder, where is that going and how much did it cost and what is it, and things like that. But the real reason is because for both Jonathan and myself is we really wanted to share the collection with the public. And we really viewed this museum as being kind of a gift to the community. It's really, it's one of the largest museums of its kind in the world. The collection is really unsurpassed anywhere. And we have pieces that, collectors and scholars from all over the world come here to study. And so for us, it was a gift to the community and a way to share this, kind of amazing collection with the public. There's pieces that are historically very important, like we have Thomas Edison's first successful light bulb. That's, clearly one of the more interesting and more important pieces in the collection. There's only two of those that still survive. We have one of them here. Some things that are more esoteric that are historically really important, but that the average person probably wouldn't know what they are. Joseph Henry is the guy who invented the first practical electromagnet. We have his electromagnet here. And so there's things like that. There's also some fun things. The hushaphone, which is this crazy thing you could put over a telephone, and talking to it, no one in the room could hear you. It's like the cone of silence for old telephones. We have the telephone that was used in the first transcontinental telephone call between Thomas Edison and Watson across the country. And but then there's some more fun things. That we have the Mega Zapper, which is here behind me, which is our 9-foot tall Tesla coil that produces 14-foot long sparks, 4.5 million volts of electricity. We have thousands of artifacts, and the list is too long to run through all of the really more interesting ones because there's lots of them.
This is the first home entertainment center. This is 1926. It allowed a person to have a film with sound.
So, old friend Mrs. Coolidge, paying a visit to the 12th American Legion Convention. Sal is making fun of names for himself as a rising young author. And none other than General Pershing, once more in uniform and not looking anywhere near his 70 years.
The rarest piece would have to be the Edison electric lamp. Or another Edison artifact that we have was a piece of the original power cable that was used to run from the very first power station in New York City to customers. And that was dug up after the World Trade Center disaster. During the reconstruction, they found this piece of original, it's called Edison tube. I think it's important that these artifacts be available for a number of reasons, especially for kids. Kids today don't have the opportunity to see, to examine devices and see how they work. You can't pick up a smartphone and look at it and figure out how it works from looking at it. But if you come in and you look at an old typewriter, this is something that kids who come in, they're fascinated with things like the rotary phones and the typewriters and things where you can actually, you can press the keys and you can see the mechanism and you can kind of figure out how it works. But it's very different, particularly in our museum, where you can not only get up close and personal with the artifacts, but in some cases you can pick them up and examine them. That's a completely different experience than looking at something on a computer screen.